Hi, hopefully everyone can hear me. If you can, if you could just give me a green check mark or a smiley face just to let me know. Okay, great. Great. Well, welcome everyone to today's session. My name is Craig Lamb. I'm the Director of Academic Support at CDL, which is the Center for Distance Learning at Empire State College. The Office of Academic Support oversees quite a few programs and services available to students, not just who are studying in CDL specifically, but students across the college, all throughout the state and beyond. We have tutoring services, we have writing coaches and math assistants and time management help. And part of the focus of this workshop will actually be getting into some of those programs and services in a little bit more detail later on in the session. What I like to do typically is I have a little bit of information that I want to share with everyone. I'm going to try to get through this information as quickly as possible so that we have a chance at the end to do as much question and answer as possible. This way we can really tailor the workshop to your needs, and we can answer your specific questions, and I don't just sit here for the full hour talking at you. So my hope is if I can get through the material in about 20 or 25 minutes, we'll leave all the rest of the hour for you to send in any questions that you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. Now, if you have any specific questions that are pertinent to your unique situation, if they're sensitive in any way, if they are, if you want to consider these questions private, I would ask that you don't ask them in the public setting. What we'll do is provide all of our contact information at the end of the session so that you can email us or give us a call, and we can work through some of those more specific or private and sensitive questions that you have later on. I don't want any of you in the session today to feel like you have to put forward something that maybe you don't want to share with a larger audience. So, a quick rundown of today's agenda. We're going to talk primarily about what it means to be an effective online learner and what skills, abilities, and strategies are needed to be an effective online learner. Now, the big focus of these two bullet points is really going to be grounded in research, what the research says about non-traditional and traditional students, what the research says about online learners and blended learners, and really what the data has been showing as characteristics for what compose an effective online or blended learner. We're also going to talk about the services that not just the Center for Distance Learning offers, but that the college offers in general to online learners to help them in their success. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to have a good amount of time at the end for any specific questions and answers that you might have. So without further ado, let's jump in, and I want to start by asking you all a question. So over on the left-hand side of your screen in the chat box, I want you to answer two questions. The first question is, what do you think it takes to be an effective online learner? So if you were to answer that question, what would you say are some of the characteristics, some of the skills or abilities that an individual would need to be an effective online learner? So just take a moment and just start writing your answers in that chat box over on the left-hand side of your screen. Okay, I see good time management, great time management, absolutely. Discipline, yep. Good typing, being able to find resources, able to focus, organization, absolutely. All these factors are going to be coming up through the next few sections of the session. Yeah, so great. It sounds like you have a good understanding of the basics, which is outstanding. Let's change directions a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about what you think detracts someone from being an effective online learner. So what are those situations, what are those events, or what are those characteristics that tend to prevent someone from being an effective online learner? Failing to spend time each day, I'm assuming on your studies, you're unclear about directions. Procrastination, absolutely. Not reading. You'd be surprised at how many students we work with that say that they don't read their assigned reading assignments. Children, work, family, home, absolutely. Sort of the role conflict that some students run into between their home life, their work life, and then their student life, absolutely. No time for interaction with teachers, absolutely. Time management, sure. So you guys are laying the foundation, and what I'm going to do is sort of pull all that together to show how everything that you've said in these last two responses are grounded in the research that's out there. So what does it mean to be an effective online learner? Now, the top bullet here on the list seems to be like a no-brainer. Assignments are submitted on time, and they are of high quality. You would be surprised at how many students we work with on a weekly basis that are able to turn their assignments in on time. They're able to turn them in sometimes early, but they don't put the necessary time into their assignments. So, you know, as one would expect, the literature says that those students who find the most success in their online endeavors are those students who get their assignments in on time, but they're also submitting the best work that they can. It's high quality work. They're putting in the appropriate time for not just written assignments, but for their online discussions, for their group projects, for engaging with other students and with the instructor. You know, it seems to be pretty much a no-brainer. The next item is an area that the research has been focused on quite a bit in the last 10 years or so. And what it's finding is that those students who tend to be most successful in their online studies are those students who reach out for assistance as soon as they think they might need assistance. So for example, a student is having a hard time understanding the content of their course. What the research says is students are most successful if as soon as they realize that they're stumbling, that they're not getting a concept, that they're having some issue integrating the material that they're learning in class, they're asking for help, whether it's reaching out to other students, whether it's sending questions to their instructor, whether it's trying to find what tutoring options are available. What we find more often than not with a lot of non-traditional learners, adult learners, or students who are taking a very heavy course load is sometimes they know that there's an issue and they're simply not asking for help for a variety of reasons. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a bit. The next item on the list is an effective online learner takes action, responds appropriately, and explores each option that is available to them in a timely manner. This is slightly different from the last bullet point that I talked about because it really is more of a student preparing themselves to be an effective learner by really understanding the landscape. You know, so very often what we do with new students is really encourage them to spend considerable time going through the online orientation, exploring all the different offices and services that the college has available to them, even if they don't need those services right now. You never know when you're going to run into an issue. You never know when your instructor is going to maybe change the boundaries of an assignment, and you might have to start working with the library in a new way. You know, so what the research finds is that those students who are most effective and most likely to reach their academic goals are those students who really spend the time to educate themselves on everything that the institution has to help them be a successful learner. They're navigating the library even before they're using it. They're figuring out how to reach out to tutoring services or what academic coaching models are available, even if they don't need assistance right now, just in case they might need something down the road. The next bullet on the list really ties into a lot of the time management items that you were posting earlier in the session. The research definitely overwhelmingly shows that students who are most realistic about what they can and cannot do academically tend to be those who are most successful. The best comparison I can give for this bullet point is the student who works full-time, has a family, has children, and then wants to start off with a very heavy course load with us, whether it's studying full-time or taking very difficult, complex courses in their first term, and they really take on more than what they can handle. 9 times out of 10, the student who goes into academic warning after their first term is really that student who wasn't realistic about what they can sufficiently take on in their first term. We're going to be talking much more about credit loads and time management in the next session of the workshop, so just keep that in the back of your mind. The next bullet on the list, the most effective online learners view education as part of their life and not simply as an add-on. For whatever reason, we get a lot of students who come to us who they might have a very extensive history in higher education, or they might not have any experience at all in higher education. But for some reason, they have this notion that an online degree is an easier path to take than if you're sitting in a classroom. They, for whatever reason, feel that the rigor is less than what someone would expect to find if they were sitting in a classroom in a more traditional brick and mortar setting. What we find the most, both in the Center for Distance Learning and in the literature, is that the students who are most successful are those students who know that they're taking on a new student role in their life. They have to find ways to integrate that role into the other aspects of their life, and they don't see it as just simply something extra. They're really integrating it so there's a good balance between their home life, their work life, their school life, their family life, you know, any volunteer commitments or religious commitments that they might have, any hobbies that they might have. You know, the student role is really built into their overall holistic life. And then the final bullet on the list, like the first one, it's a no-brainer. Those students who tend to be the most effective online learners are those who tend to reach their final educational goals, whatever those goals might be. It could be reaching a degree. It could be reaching a certain number of credits to make them eligible for a promotion or some sort of advancement in the workplace. It's really those students who have a goal in mind, it's a realistic educational goal, and they meet it. Pretty simple. So what skills and abilities play into being an effective online learner? Now this list, again, is composed of all the characteristics that the literature specifically point to as being characteristics of a good, effective online learner. So the top one on the list that comes up more than anything is an effective online learner has appropriate time management skills. Now this extends beyond just good time management for your studies. It's good time management throughout your entire life. You know, you're balancing your work, your home, your family, your children, your parents, your this, your that, with all the expectations that you're taking on in this student role. We try to stress as much as we can to students that if you are planning on taking a full-time course load, you're essentially picking up a full-time job. For one 4-credit study, a student can anticipate to spend anywhere between, I'd say, 12 and in some cases 16 hours per week working on that one 4-credit study. So when you multiply that out, if you're taking 12 courses, you really need to make sure that you have about 35 hours to 40 hours of time available to dedicate to those studies, for your written assignments, for engaging in your online discussions, for doing research, for reading, for anything that you might have to do with your course. I think this is the biggest key that many of our students lose as they come into the institution, where they say, oh, you know what, 12 credits, it's only 3 courses. It's only 3 4-credit courses. I can easily manage this. It's not a big load. And they truly don't understand the full commitment that's required to take on a full-time course load. And then how that integrates with, again, your work life, your home life, your hobbies, everything else that you do. You know, we have students that commute sometimes 2 or 3 hours a day to get to their jobs. You know, that's a significant time commitment in and of itself. So good time management is really key. The next item on the list is the literature says that the most effective online learners have a good understanding and appreciation of their individual learning styles and how different learning styles interact. Now, this could be taken in a variety of different ways, but I think the easiest one to look at it is let's boil it down to a very real-life situation. We work with countless students who come to us and they say, you know, I put in all the time in the world and I find that I'm not getting it. I'm not doing enough, or I'm not, you know, I read all this material and I get done spending an hour on the reading and I just don't absorb anything that I read. Well, it could be that the student is reading in a way that conflicts with their learning preferences or their preferred learning styles. So all the literature has been saying, both in the last 10 or 15 years and then also for online literature, that those effective online learners know what their learning style are, they know what their learning preferences are, they know different approaches that really highlight or play into their preferred learning styles. You know, if you know that you need complete and utter silence when you're reading a book, but yet you find yourself reading with the TV on, or in a noisy area, or on your lunch break at work where there's people passing you and there's a lot of distractions, obviously you're not in an environment that plays into your preferred learning style. Flip that over on the other side of the fence. We have many students who try to read in complete silence. They segregate themselves from everyone and everything, and they feel like they're not getting enough out of that time. But it turns out that they're kinetic learners or audio learners, oral learners, and they need to change the way that they're approaching their studies so that they can be more effective. So understanding your learning styles is really key to being an effective online learner. The next item on the list is sort of globally labeled as academic risk-taking. Now, this doesn't mean that you dive headfirst into courses that you know you're not strong in, or you take on a load that is really challenging you to be effective. What academic risk-taking means is that before you start making assumptions about yourself, your abilities, or your skills, you actually give yourself the opportunity to experience some type of academic setting. Now, let's put this in another context. We have students that come into the office on almost a daily basis that say, I'm taking a math course, or I need to take a math course down the road. I'm horrible at math. I'm bad at math. I've always been told math isn't my strong point, and blah, 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 blah. And the students are so worked up about this math anxiety that no matter what you do or say, they've already convinced themselves that they're not going to do good in their math course. So what academic risk-taking is really trying to get at is it's trying to say to students, hold off on making any judgment about yourself, your skills, your abilities, until you've actually given these things a chance, until you've effectively assessed where your skills lie and what you're good at and what you're not good at. A lot of times we spend countless hours just trying to get students to decrease their anxiety, to give certain courses a chance, you know, because they have to have a math course for their degree program, or they have to take a variety of writing intensive courses, and they feel that their writing skills aren't up to par. You know, so it's really trying to put all these preconceived notions, just, you know, sort of table them temporarily until you get into the experience and really give yourself the opportunity to try, to work with a tutor, to work with services and programs before you completely sign off on yourself and say, oh, I can't do this. The next item on the list, you pointed to it earlier on in the presentation, and it sort of ties in with the first bullet here. The most effective online learners are persistent, they're active, and they're engaged. These are the students who do not just go into their course once or twice a week and plow through all their assignments or plow through all of the discussions just to get it done and just to hit that bare minimum cutoff. These are the students who are engaging with their other students. They're responding to posts. They're posting their material. They go back in a few days later to respond to the responses that other students have provided them. They're reaching out to their instructor with questions. They're forming their own study groups. You know, it goes without saying that those students who are more engaged and more active in their study are much more likely to be more successful in that individual study, be more successful in their academic term, and then be more successful in reaching whatever their educational goal is. The next item on the list is what we've labeled as be reflective but not reactive. This tends to fall into the category of when you're engaging with your instructor. We get many, many students who come to us and they say, oh, my instructor told me that I'm not a good writer and I don't know what he or she's talking about. I've been writing for 20 years and blah, blah, blah. And when you take a look at the instructor's feedback, you really see that the instructor is trying to point out or highlight very specific areas that the student can work on. But the student is viewing that feedback as a critique, a negative critique of their skills, and that's not the case. All the instructors, everyone that we're working with, that you'll be working with in your time here, is really dedicated to helping you in any way that they can. But to do that, we have to provide constructive criticism to help you, develop your skills, to help you grow in certain areas of your academic role. And to do that, you really want to take that feedback in, think about it, reflect on it, talk to other people about it, and don't just assume that we're trying to be negative or knock you down or critique your skills. That's in no way what we're intending to do, especially your instructors. They're really there to highlight certain areas that you should focus on for future assignments or in future courses to really build up your skills in those areas. The next item on the list, again, sort of ties into time management, but it's more of like a life management bullet here. The most effective online learners are those who are acutely aware of their personal and situational limitations. Now again, these are those students who know, okay, I have X, Y, and Z events coming up in this term, so maybe I should take one fewer course in my course load just to make sure that I don't overload myself. I always have to tell this story. I was working with a student a couple of years ago, and every spring she is working in an environment that is very unstructured, and there's days where she would go into work and she would have no idea what day she was coming home. She works for sort of like a tax preparation service, so it's tax season, and she knew going into our January term that work is just crazy for her from January until the tax filing deadline. Yet she's still enrolled in 16 credits, and then she was wondering why she couldn't keep up with all the work. She knew that this was going to be a busy term for her, but yet she still made the conscious choice to sign up for a very heavy course load. So, really be reflective about what you can and can't take on. If you know that your work schedule is insane and you have a lot of commitments at home, you have a lot of commitments in your community, maybe starting off in a full-time course load is not the best option for you. Maybe you really want to look at other options. So talk to your mentor. Really figure out what would be the best approach for you based on what you can and cannot handle. And then the last bullet here on the list, the most effective online learners utilize the services and resources that are available to them when they're needed. These are the students who, when they know that they need a tutor, they go through the process to request a tutor, and they work with that tutor. These are the students who, if they're having a hard time with a research paper, they're contacting one of the librarians at the college to talk through what some of their issues are. They're reaching out for help. They're contacting their mentor. They're contacting their instructor. And they're not waiting until it's past the point of no return when there's no help that would be able to help you turn things around and get back on pace with your course. So essentially, when you know you need help, reach out. Talk to somebody, call my office, contact your mentor, contact your instructor, and we can help point you in the right direction. Now, how can ESC help? There's a variety of services and resources that the college offers. We're not going to go into all of them here, but here are just some of the more popular ones that we would point you to. The first one is the Learning Support tab. This is sort of a one-stop shop for all academic support related resources and tools that you have access to as a student here. It has links to our tutoring services. It has links to the workshops that you're in right now and all the workshops that we'll have for the whole rest of the term. It has contact information for my office and all the other offices of academic support across the college. I mean, it's just a whole one-stop shop for anything academic support related. The CDL Peer Tutor and the smartthinking.com links here are two great tutoring resources. If you're ever running into problems with your course, either on the content side, so let's say you're taking a biology course and you need help going over some of the material, these resources can help you with that. On the flip side, if you're taking a course and you know that you really need assistance with the writing, let's say you have a couple of writing assignments coming up, you want to get a second set of eyes on your draft before you submit it to your instructor, Smart Thinking has a great online writing center where you can submit drafts of your paper, have them reviewed by a writing expert, and get those comments and that feedback back within about 24 hours. So you can respond, or you can revise your paper and then submit it to your instructor before the due date. So two great tutoring resources. Check them out. Go through their sites. If you have any questions or concerns, let us know. One thing I will add is these services are available to all ESC students completely for free. So it's not going to cost you a penny to access these services. The next item on the list is the CDL Connects program. It's also known as the Academic Coaching Program here at the Center for Distance Learning. This program it's not so much tutoring, but it's really geared to connect students with an academic coach who can help them sort of above and beyond with everything that they might need for an academic term. So if you know that you would really benefit by working with someone else to map out your term, to sort of strategize how you're going to approach your assignments, or maybe just to sort of pick someone's brain about what resources or services can best help them based on the courses that they're enrolled in, we can connect you to an academic coach who can help with that all throughout your term. You know, your mentor is there for planning your degree and choosing what courses you need to take. An academic coach is really there to help you figure out, okay, what's the best way to help you get from point A to point B, which is usually that range of the term, and how are you going to approach your assignments? How are you going to plan out your term so you can be the most effective learner possible? And then the last item on the list here is the ESC library. By far, it's one of the most underutilized resources by students here. The library can help students with finding research material for papers. It can help students with you know, all the different writing styles. How do you cite in MLA or APA? How do you write a works cited page? Anything like that. They have live librarians there that will work with you. You can set up appointments. You can email them questions. You can text chat with them. But it's a great resource for anybody who needs assistance with any of the services that they provide. So, if you don't know where to go, if you have questions that are academic in nature and you really don't know, well, I don't know if this is for my instructor, I don't know if I should bring this to other students, I don't know if I should go to my mentor, send them over to us, the Office of Academic Support. If we can't answer your question, we will refer you to whatever source would be the best area to you know, respond to, help you resolve whatever issue that you're having. If we can't find that answer, we will put you in contact with the person who can answer that question for you. And let me just stress, I mean, the big reason why students run into academic trouble here is usually one of two reasons. They take on more than they can handle, or they don't ask for help when they truly need it. And that's what we're here for. So reach out. Let us know if you have any questions, concerns, and we can do whatever we can to help. So we are rolling into that section of the session here where we want to open it up for questions and answers. If you have questions, what we'll do is raise your hand, and in the orders of the questions that come in, we will answer those questions the best that we can. If we run out of time, feel free to just send us an email, send us a call or whatever, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So give me just a second here. I'm going to switch over some stuff to get Terry in, and we'll start taking your questions in the order that they come in. Okay, so it looks like we got one question so far. Stephen, go ahead and type your question, and we'll just start with you. If anyone else has questions, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll take them in the order that they come in. And Deborah, I'll get to your question right after we get to Stephen's. Oh, and it looks like somebody already responded, so never mind. Stephen, why is Angel so obscure? I have to search for my assignments and sometimes due dates are not clear. It may not necessarily be an issue with Angel. It could possibly be an issue with the specific course that you're enrolled in or the design of that course. What we tend to tell students is if at any point you feel like you're missing out on something or you're not finding everything that you should, reach out to the instructor immediately. The college is going through a process right now where we are transitioning into a new platform that is going to be much more robust and much easier to navigate than Angel. Students won't see this new platform until the fall, but as we move through that process, we want to make sure that students don't have any road bumps or they don't run into any issues. So if you have any questions, just reach out to your instructor. They should be able to help you. Now, most courses do have things laid out in sort of like a module overview format where it should list things out, what you have to do for each module, what your expectations are. But if for whatever reason you can't find it, simply reach out to the instructor and let them know that you're having difficulty navigating the course, and they should be able to assist. Let's see. Yeah, Stephen, you said I would assume that when you click on the folder that says assignments and it's just the method of submission, it sounds like there might be a design issue there. So just reach out to the instructor and they should be able to assist you with that. Okay, Regina, go ahead with your question. Kelly, I can jump in really quick. The college is actually going with a platform called Moodle. It's one of Blackboard's competitors. What we were finding is Blackboard is not as flexible as we would like it to, and Moodle seems a much better fit for our student population. Okay. Okay, Regina, not a question, no problem. We'll just go on to the next. Jasmine, if you have a question, feel free to post it. Okay, and Yvette, I'll get to your post in just a minute as well. If anyone else has questions, just raise your hand and we'll take them in the order that they come in. Okay, Regina, looks like you don't have a question now. Sorry, folks, there's a lot of traffic on the chat. I'm just trying to find the questions as they're coming in, so just bear with me here. If participants want to respond to another student's post or question, under the in the chat box, you can actually select who that message goes to. If you send them a message directly, that would help us sort of keep track of where the questions are coming in. We're sort of I'm having a hard time finding where the questions are. They're getting lost a little bit. So bear with me here. All right, Jasmine, is there set criteria for all CDL students in terms of how many times we need to participate throughout the week? One of my courses requires 3 days a week of participation on 3 different days. There's no set criteria. If there is criteria that's set, it usually is generated by the actual course itself or the design of the course. For example, some of our foreign language courses require that students are checking in on a certain frequency just because it's very discussion based. What we tend to recommend students is if it doesn't explicitly state it in the course, try to get into the course between 3 and 4 times a week, more if you have the availability. The more that you're in there, the more that you can fully engage in the discussions, the better that you can sort of navigate the course space and sort of see how the course is progressing. In a perfect world, we would say get in there as often and as frequently as you can, but we know that that's not realistic. But in terms of a sort of a general expectation, the only one that you would find would be whatever expectation is set right within the course itself. So hopefully that helps your question. If not, let me know. Yvette had a question. I have 2 4-credit courses and the amount of reading material is tremendous. I find myself rushing to complete the readings and missing some pertinent information to write my discussions and assignments. I really need help with organizing my reading time. There's a few different options that we can go here. One is there's a lot of great reading strategy material in that learning support tab that I went to earlier. That I referenced earlier. I'll actually go back a little bit. So if you click on that Learning Support tab link there, on the right-hand side of the page, there's a link that says Resources. And in that area, there's a lot of good material about reading strategies and how to approach your readings. I would say read over that material first and see if that helps you sort of streamline how you're approaching your readings right now. We could also connect you with an academic coach who could help sort of break down your reading assignments into chunks and figure out the best way to approach your readings. We do have a lot of courses that are reading and or writing intensive. And you know, a lot of students are sometimes shocked when they come into a course and they have to read 150 or 200 pages a week for their study. And that's sort of where that time commitment comes in. You really want to make sure that you have, you know, that 12 to 15 hours a week set aside for each of your courses so you can get through your readings in enough time to participate and engage in the study. Okay. Okay. Beverly had a question. When will I see the next set of discussions? The discussions roll out based on how the instructor wants them to roll out. So some courses, once you get into the course, you see the full course open to everyone. Some courses, it's actually closed out and modules open on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. So if you're wondering when different discussions will roll out, just look at the design of the course or ask your instructor and they should be able to help. Okay. It looks like Olga had the next question. When researching for resources on the ESC online library, the options can be overwhelming, journals, books, etc. Who's the best person to talk to for guidance? In this case, Olga, I would actually recommend setting up a one-on-one appointment with the ESC librarian, with one of the ESC librarians, to not just talk about the assignment, but talk about what the behind-the-scenes expectations of the assignment are. When I say that, I mean it in a couple different ways. A lot of times, based on how the course is structured, your instructor will almost assume that you're going to be providing material, resources, and anything like that that is either peer-reviewed or scholarly. And that would alleviate anything that falls sort of in this like public domain of, you know, general books that are open to the public or like newspaper articles or things like that. The librarians, based on the courses that you're in, will help you navigate the library based on the type of resources that best fit the study itself. So for example, if you're taking some courses that fall in community and human services, they'll actually direct you to sort of fleshed out study guides that are specifically for students who are taking community and human service courses. Just like if you were taking a lower level course compared to an upper level course, they would help direct you to those resources that you would more often gravitate toward in an advanced level study. So hopefully that answers your question. I would say your best bet would be to just go to the library homepage. There's an area there that says Ask a Librarian, and you can set up a one-on-one appointment. They should be able to help. Okay, Yvette, I think, has the next question. Just going through the list here, seeing if I can find it. But I may have already answered it. Yvette, I think your question was in terms of the reading. So if that wasn't your question, let us know and we can come back to you. Okay. Tahira said the Moodle site looks interesting. Just looking to see if you had, all right, I tried signing up for Smart Thinking and a peer tutor. For Smart Thinking, I was unable to sign up, and for the peer tutor, there was a form to download which looks like it needs to be printed, filled out, and mailed in. Is there an option to fill it out online? Okay, for Smart Thinking, students have to create their account through the esc.edu/smartthinking portal. Students, if they don't go through that account, they can't create their account, and then they can't use the services without paying for it. But going through this pipeline allows you to use the service where you don't have to pay. So if you go to esc.edu/smartthinking, you should be able to create your account there, and then when you go to smartthinking.com, you would just put in your username and password, get access to the site. For the peer tutor form, there is a form that you would have to download and fill out, but you can easily send it to our office as an email attachment, or you can just cut and paste the content of the form into an email when you send it back to the office, and we can use that. Currently, we don't have an online form to fill out. There were some issues with that. It's a long story, so we had to go this route. It's a little bit more cumbersome, but just cut and paste the content into an email and send that into our office, and we can take it from there. Okay, it looks like Debbie has the next question. Bear with me, let me just try to track it down here. Okay, as far as time management, I'm currently taking 4 courses. Do most students find it more effective to do work on a little of each course per day, or designate a specific day per course? So one day would be your economics course, another day your diversity course. It's a good question, and it really, there's a few factors that will come into play. There's no one set way that students will approach it. They tend to find a strategy that works best for them is based on the structure of the course itself. So if you find that any of your courses require frequent ongoing connection, we would say try to block out a little bit of time on whatever days you're going into the course to jump into those individual courses. Courses that don't require that heavy of a commitment, we usually would say set aside certain chunks to say, okay, from maybe 6 to 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, I'll dedicate to my diversity course or my business ethics course or something like that. It's really going to be based on a few factors such as course design. You also want to think about assignment load. So, you're taking 4 courses right now. You might find that one week you'll have 2 or 3 big assignments due from 2 or 3 different courses. So you might have to sort of alter or flex how you're approaching your schedule to accommodate for those extra sort of high points in your term. If you want to connect with an academic coach, give us a call or send us an email, and we could put you in touch with someone who might help you map out your term based on the courses that you're in, if you want to get some more of a solid structure in place. So just let us know. Okay, it looks like Karen has the next question. Bear with me, folks. I'm sorry. There's so much traffic in the chat area. I'm just trying to find everyone's questions. So, I have been to all these resources and participated in workshops and have been getting numerous different links to explain MLA or other styles of writing and how they provide conflicting information. How do I navigate which is the most up-to-date and proper style to use? There's two ways I can answer this. One is there's never going to be sort of the one go-to place, because these writing styles are evolving on a frequent basis. As new forms of media, as new types of material become available to be used, for example, blogs are now cited in academic research papers, wikis are cited, YouTube videos are cited, ebooks without authors are cited. As that stuff comes up, the rules for all these different writing styles change with these updates. The one resource that I think I would feel most comfortable referring students to would be the citation material at the ESC library, and specifically the Diana Hacker citation material. If you go to the ESC library, right on their front page, there's information that talks about citing the sources. I'm just trying to figure out the exact language here. It's at the bottom of their front page. I think it's just listed as Cite Your Sources. And if you click on any of the tabs at the top, either APA, MLA, Chicago, you'll see a link in here that's in parentheses with the word hacker. That's Diana Hacker. It's Hacker is her last name. And that is probably the best, most up-to-date resource to go to for any of these writing styles. Now, one caveat I will work into this. You always want to be sure that you're following the writing style that your instructor is looking for. If you're in a psychology course, 99 out of 100 times your instructor is going to want you to cite in APA. If you're in a history course, 99 out of 100 times your instructor will want you to cite in Chicago. So make sure you know what the citation standards are for your particular instructor or course, and then I would use the Hacker material. That's probably your best, most up-to-date material to use. Okay, Amina has the next question. Are online courses more difficult than a classroom setting? The jury is still out on that. I think my opinion, and I think what a lot of the faculty at the Center for Distance Learning will say is, they're not necessarily difficult, they're different. Students really have much more responsibility on their shoulders when they're taking an online course, because you don't have a regular schedule that you're going to a class. You're not going to a class Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours where you can stop by after class to talk to your instructor, or there's predefined office hours that you could take advantage of. An online course really requires the student to be much more motivated and much more engaged in their learning, because there's no one there on a regular and frequent basis saying, oh yeah, don't forget you have a paper due, and oh, where's your homework assignment from last week? It's really the onus on the student is much higher, I think, in the online setting than it is in a traditional classroom face-to-face setting. I wouldn't say it's more difficult. It's different, and it requires a different set of skills and a different mindset. The students really have to be independent learners. They have to know, if they're having a hard time getting something, they have to reach out for help. They might not have someone there to see them on a regular basis to say, hey, you know what, we're going through this course concept and you have a puzzled look on your face. Are you not getting it? Can I provide you with any assistance? That whole face-to-face piece isn't on the table. So it really requires the student to reach out for help when they need the assistance, and to be more engaged in their studies. The phrase independent learning is very strong around the Center for Distance Learning, because it really requires the student to be the driver of their education. So I hope that answered your question. I'm more than happy to talk to you about how people view online versus the classroom setting, if you want to talk more about it, if you'd like. Okay, it looks like Lisa has the next question. On the Smart Thinking tab, when you submit a writing assignment, how long does it take for them to respond? And do they give you enough time to correct and submit an assignment? Smart Thinking's turnaround time for a paper is about 24 hours. So when you upload a paper, you can expect to see it in 24 hours or less. Now, during some of the quieter times of a term, we've had some students say that they've submitted a paper in the morning and they've gotten it back that evening. So you can pretty much bank on about a 24-hour turnaround time. Now, in terms of getting it back in time to correct the work before you submit it, that's really going to be based on you as the student. You know, if you know that you have a paper due in 2 weeks, you're going to want to structure your time in such a way where your deadline gets moved up so that you could submit the paper a couple days, maybe 2, 3, 4 days before the due date, so you can get the feedback, so you can integrate that feedback into your revisions and then still meet the course deadline. Just because you're using Smart Thinking does not mean that an instructor is going to push the deadline further and further out for you. What it means is you really want to change how you're approaching your assignment to ensure that you're getting your draft done early enough to submit it to Smart Thinking, to wait that 24 hours, then to get the comments, make the corrections, and submit it to your instructor. So let me know if you have any other questions about that. Okay, Karen has another question. You know, the library does offer workshops about how to cite sources. They do spend quite a bit of time talking about Diana Hacker. Yes, just seeing, Karen, you had your hand raised. Any other questions? Okay, Karen, I don't see any other questions. I see some other comments, Karen. So I'm going to go to the next student. If you do have another question, just raise your hand again. I think you had more comments. Mina has another question. In classroom settings, I've always been successful with a B because I'm changing to online. Should there be anything in particular I should be aware of? The big thing that you need to be aware of is really, you know, it's the student's responsibility to get their assignments in on time, to be engaged in the course. You know, if a student is transitioning from more traditional settings into an online setting, I always recommend to reach out to all of your instructors a couple weeks after the term, just to check in. You know, 3 or 4 weeks after the term starts, reach out to your instructors and just say, hey, how am I doing? Can I get a sort of an update, a progress report with where I'm at, just to make sure I'm on pace with everything. Online is new to me. I want to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. You know, do it again around the midterm, you know, so you're talking maybe week 8, week 9, and then check in again about a month before the term ends. You know, all of our courses they're great courses. They're very in-depth. You're going to learn a tremendous amount of material, but they are designed differently. You know, math courses are designed in a way that really are grounded in the best way to teach math online. And that's going to be a different approach than the psychology courses or the philosophy courses that are truly designed to be delivered in a way that is best for teaching that material online. So if you take different courses, you're going to see different design elements, and you want to make sure that you're sort of keeping up to speed with everything. So reach out to your instructors. Typically, if a student has been successful in their online or in the classroom setting, you tend to see success here as long as they're implementing the same skills that they did when they were in the face-to-face setting. So if they had good time management, if they reached out when they needed help, if they utilized the services that were there, they tend to be successful just as much as they would in a traditional setting. So yeah, you should be good. Obviously, if you run into any issues, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to help. Tara has the next question. I'm still having a hard time signing into Smart Thinking. The sign-up sheet calls my phone number invalid, and I'm getting rather ridiculous error messages. If you could, Tahara, if you could possibly send us an email with a phone number, and somebody can reach out to you after this session, and we could try to figure out what's going on. The Smart Thinking site should not be asking for a phone number, so I'm kind of curious if you're at the right area to actually create your account. Be sure if you're going to Smart Thinking that you're first creating your Smart Thinking account through the ESC Smart Thinking portal, which is www.esc.edu/smartthinking. Once you have that account created, then you would go to smartthinking.com and access your account that way. So I'm not really sure where you're at where it's asking you for a phone number. So if you could, I'll put our office email up right now. If you could email us with a phone number where you could be reached, somebody will get in touch with you shortly, and we can try to work out that issue. Not really sure where the issue is. All right, I think we got time for one question, so we'll do Marie. She's the last person here. Bear with me. Just got to find Marie's question. Is it normal not to have any assignments due until the 5th week of class? I feel a little lost in one of my classes because of this. My other classes, I've had multiple assignments handed in. I'm a full-time student, and with this one class, I have to do group work with 2 other students, and we were just given our partners yesterday. Does this happen often? Again, it's hard to say if this happens often because our courses are all designed a little bit differently. Now, I do know that we have some courses where students won't necessarily have to submit anything for a few weeks into the term based on how the course is designed. So, for example, I think of some of our advanced level business courses. There's a tremendous amount of material that is covered in the first 3, 4, sometimes 5 weeks of the course before a first paper is due or a first assignment is due, simply because that material is going to lay the foundation for the rest of the course. I would say if you have any questions or concerns about feeling lost in the course, or you feel like you might not be on a sure footing, reach out to the instructor and just have a quick conversation with them. It can be a private conversation through email or through the telephone, just to talk to them about that and say, oh, I'm noticing that your course is designed differently than my other courses. I want to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. There could be a very valid reason why the instructor has the course designed that way. The college offers many courses online. CDL alone offers over 500 different courses. And within that, instructors will sometimes slightly tailor courses a little bit differently as well. So if we have 10 sections of introductory accounting being offered, those instructors might go in there and enhance their course based on their preferred teaching habits or what they found to be most effective. So you're going to see differences based on all the courses that you go into. You're not going to find sort of a universal template, and that's really done in a way to tap into the best way to deliver that kind of content to students. So, Marie, I would say reach out to your instructor and see if they can help you with that 5-week window that you're running into. Okay, so we are at the end of our time. I know that there were some questions that were posted in the chat there that I wasn't able to get to. So if anyone has any additional questions, or if they have questions that they didn't want to share publicly, please feel free. All of our contact information is up right now. Send us an email. You can give us a call, but we might not be here if the volume spikes quickly. So I would say send us an email. We can either email you back or give you a call either later today or later in the week. But yeah, send us a question. And if we leave you with anything, please, if you run into questions, concerns with your studies, reach out to us, reach out to your mentors, reach out to your instructors, reach out to your other students, reach out to anybody. I mean, the one thing that I need you all to leave the session with is that there's a tremendous number of individuals that are dedicated to the Center for Distance Learning students here. There's my office. There's the Office of Student Services. There's all your instructors. There's your mentors. There's everyone else. And we are truly here to help all of you reach your academic goals. So if you ever have questions, concerns, reach out to us. If we don't know that you're having a problem, there's nothing that we can do to help. So that being said, my clock just clicked over to 1 o'clock. Have a great day. Best of luck in your studies for either your November term course students, the January term students, or the new students coming up in the March term. And take care, have a great week, and we will talk to you soon.